I was lucky enough to work in some really great restaurants in Boston, James Beard Award-winning chefs and things like that, and they did a great job of inspiring good cooks to be great cooks and good chefs and great chefs. And, we have some other James Beard Award-winning chefs that came out of that kitchen from when I was there that now own and operate restaurants in New York and Philly, but they weren't making a lot of money. Right. And I think the misconception is that you can pay people a lot and they will do their job really well. Right. And that's not true. The same thing that you have to do to inspire your team, we all have to do too. We might be able to pay a higher salary, and maybe I don't know that to be true necessarily. Right. But yeah, I mean, you have to be able to say, here's the goal, we're going to go after it, and here's how you get there, and get people to follow you. Yeah. Real easy to charge a mountain, really hard to get a bunch of people to follow you up it.
Well, that's the difference between a boss and a leader, right? Yeah. If you're a leader, your staff, your employees will follow you. They'll grow with you, and and at the same time, it's like you just nailed it on the head. It's not just necessarily about paying them a great salary. Yeah. It's that they respect you and that they know that you're in the trenches with them and you're leading them. Yeah.
I think the key for us is we look to elevate the people. So I look at it like this, I'm not validated until I bring somebody up to where I was. Yeah. So if you have the ability to kind of, groom some people, one day you'll have some chef partners, and you have a conglomerate of maybe 5 different restaurants, but they have to see the vision that's where you're going, and you've got to talk about it, and they'll see hey, if I hang out with this guy, maybe I could follow that same path. Exactly. And whether they stick or not stick, they'll stay longer because they're going to learn, all the things that you got passed down, from your chef.
For sure.
You'll do the same thing, and we do the same thing. And if people will leave, and it's God bless them, they'll do big things, but
maybe
right.
But it's no longer your responsibility. They could also fail. Go ahead and do it.
They could also fail, but it's equipping them with the tools to also survive on their own. So I don't want people to feel like they're necessarily tied. Their success is tied directly to me. It's got to be kind of 50-50. You got to kind of be able to work together, and moving forward in the future. So there's got to be a time where they see the value. There can't be that drop off where they're not seeing it because you're not around anymore. Yep. So that's the trick, I think.
Yeah. So cookbook in one hand, calculator in another. Great. It's a great point. I mean, commercial real estate, residential, it doesn't matter, right? You also have the other side of the business that needs to get run. This is kind of how this
you don't want to be losing money.
Radio show got started. Was like, hey, why don't we talk about some of the stuff that we know and learn what we don't know from some other really successful people too. I think the big takeaway here is if you're looking to be successful as you're listening to this show, read. You got to read. Yeah. I mean, last 3 years I've read about a book a week. Right, and the only reason I did that was because I heard that top CEOs were reading about a book a week, and I was like, 52 books a year, that's insane. I can't do that, or can I? Let's see. And yeah, it turns out you can, especially stuff that really interests you, right? Whether it's personal growth or Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, or there's a ton of topics out there, and you can grab golden nuggets from all of it, right? I'm listening to Shoe Dog right now, which is oh man, what a great book. It's probably the first book that is told in a story form that I've listened to in a long time. But fantastic. Atomic Habits was great. This book is great, but you can find nuggets of wisdom from successful people everywhere. Just turn the TV off, go read a book. So,
well, not when Kitchen Nightmares is on.
Here's a great book.
James is on TV.
I actually subscribe. You guys should check it out. It's called OptimizeMe.com. It's Brian Johnson. He has basically philosopher's notes. He takes all these books and it's compressed. He literally that's how he advertises it. It's compressed wisdom. So he takes these books and he takes the 5 big. Every book has 5 main ideas, right?
I love that.
Oh, but that's amazing.
You can't sell a book that's 3 pages long. So they just add and beat it into your head. Right, but if you now know how to read. You can just read this 5-page thing, and now you have the book.
That's all great. Over that.
So I'm in a number of that, and and I end up buying the book anyway, just because I love highlighting and compressed wisdom, little nuggets. I love it, grabbing nuggets all the time.
What is that again?
OptimizeMe.com, and it's Brian Johnson, philosopher notes is what it is, but we'll talk about it in a minute, but it's great. Check it out.
Yeah,
massive tool that I use.
And I think that's. When I started reading, it was interesting because when I got out of college, I was reading a lot, because I had to, and not stuff that I wanted to. And then there was a period of time for probably 4 or 5 years where I was just done. I wasn't really picking up books. I wasn't really watching anything that was, right? I was just kind of shut down. What I've realized is that a lot of the world lives there. Like, so as we were hiring some people a couple years back, one of the interview questions was, what's the last book you read and when was it? And I can't tell you some of the shocking answers that I would get. Like, I don't read books. I watch the news, right? And I was like, oh.
Red flag.
Okay. So that's a pretty toxic place to get all your information, right? And then some people would say, oh, the last time I read a book was college, right? The guy's 58 years old. And it just made me recognize that the people that I was getting around were on this one trajectory of growth, and this is where I want to go. And a lot of the world lives in this other place where they just want to be spoon-fed information. Successful people don't do that, right? They get out of their comfort zone, they get out of their own way, they go and they dig into, where are we getting these little nuggets of wisdom? Where can we be better and things like that. And I think once you get around more and more people that do that, you realize, like, it's fun to do and it's fun to talk about.
Yeah.
So what else?
I don't know. So much. I mean,
there's a lot going on.
This could be a 5-day podcast. I think if we have a few more minutes to talk about one last thing, I guess a buddy of mine had mentioned this to me, and it's kind of been it's stuck with me for a long time. And he said there's really only a few rules you got to live by in life. And he said, number one is just be the best version of yourself at all times, or at least try to be. If we're all trying to do that, that would be a pretty kick-ass society if we lived in. If we were really genuinely concerned about ourselves and being the best version of ourselves, that's good for society. Always do what you say you're going to do. Don't bullshit. Don't always do what you say you're going to do. And don't hurt anybody while you're trying to do number one and number two. And that to me is kind of how I wake up and live my life.
Yeah.
It's very basic, but it's also very profound. If you think about those 3 guiding principles in life, it's a recipe for success.
Sure.
No,
simple, not easy, right?
Yep.
That's it.
But I think it's easy to want to be the best version of yourself, putting guardrails up in place to keep you accountable to those things on the days that you don't feel like, pushing the extra mile is important. The integrity aspect of it is big, right? Just let your yes be yes and your no be no.
Yep.
People will rely on you and give you respect the way that you can continue to grow. So that's great advice. And then, don't hurt anybody along the way.
And that's a broad term, but don't lie, don't cheat, don't undercut,
right?
Don't rob anybody of their income. Don't hurt anybody.
Right, be fair. Just treat people the way you want to be treated.
When you mentioned this off air too before, you're saying like I have bosses too, right? I have investors that work with me and things like that. And something that we always say in our company is the only barometer we really care about is happy investors.
Yes,
because if they're happy, we're happy. Right? That means we're making them happy, we're doing a good job. And that doesn't necessarily always mean that the returns are what the returns are, right? That means that they know, like, and trust us with their hard-earned money. Yeah. And that's a big deal, right? Because nobody wants to light any money on fire. Right. So when you take money in, it's a responsibility.
Investors lose money. It happens.
100%. But that's the thing, right, is they know, like, and trust you, and they trust that you are doing the best with the business plan that they were given, and they bought into it, right? And investors lose money, and at the end of the day, I've had people lose money and still come to Christmas dinner because that was a business transaction. Our personal relationship won't be affected by that because we were just honest and transparent through that process. And we all have those relationships in our lives that, as long as we're focused on them, right, then we have a better chance of success.
So what about the future, man? Anything you're working towards in the next couple of years?
So right now, there's some growth plans on the horizon. I have some things that are talking about, but for a very long time, I've really carried a lot on my shoulders and been involved with multiple projects at one time.